español y en mandarín. Tomen en cuenta que el globo de interpretación no va a aparecer hasta que yo haya leído las instrucciones en español. Por lo tanto, pedimos que todos los asistentes seleccionen su idioma preferido para poder escuchar a los presentadores y participantes con claridad, evitando que se produzcan fallas técnicas o interferencia entre los dos canales lingüísticos cuando no se seleccione alguno de estos. Si está usando una computadora, va a haber un icono en la parte inferior de su pantalla a la derecha en forma de globo que dice Interpretation, que significa interpretación. Haga clic ahí y seleccione Spanish, es decir, español. Si está utilizando un iPad o teléfono inteligente, localice la opción de 3 puntos que dice More, que aparece en la esquina inferior derecha de su pantalla. Haga clic en Language Interpretation, que significa interpretación de idiomas, y elija Spanish, es decir, español. Y si usted va a hablar, por favor recuerde hablar con voz clara y fuerte y a un paso moderado, ya que yo estaré interpretando simultáneamente al otro idioma. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
本会议由语言支持提供西班牙语和华语。那么，如果要收听另外一种语言的演讲，请点击屏幕下方的地球图标。请注意，加入会议的每一位观众都被设定为静音。你可以使用举手功能来做交谈。那么，你要使用 Q&A 工具提交你的任何问题，请你点击 Q&A 的图像以后，在右下方的信方框中输入你的信息。
歡迎大家今日參加我哋公聖愛國嘅流動行動計劃。咁今日我哋會提供你語言嘅支援嘅。咁我哋有西班牙文、普通話同廣東話。咁如果你需要翻譯嘅話咧，請你按右下方一個interpretation 翻譯嘅呢個按鈕。咁你撳之後咧可以選擇中文，咁就可以用中文收聽。咁如果你有需要發言嘅話咧，圖下方有一個 Q&A 嘅按鈕，你亦都可以撳落去，咁就輸入你今日嘅問題。咁如果需要翻譯，我哋會幫你翻譯㗎啦。唔該晒。
Great, thank you. So I'm going to start the interpretation feature now. For folks that wish to use that, they can go ahead and get that started. All right. Here. Okay. So today I'm joined by my colleagues at the LA County Department of Regional Planning, as well as our excellent consultant team, IBI. I'd like to take a moment to let them introduce themselves, starting with regional planning staff. And so just to start off, sorry you can't see my face, but looking at our attendees list, I'm sure I met many of you. My name is James Drevno. I'm on the Community Studies East team at the LA County Department of Regional Planning. Our main project is the East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mi.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name's Mi Kim. I'm also with Community Studies East, working on the East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan, and also as part of the East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan, the East San Gabriel Valley Mobility Action Plan. Thank you so much for making time tonight to join us. I hope this information session will be interesting as well as informative. With that, I'll turn it over to Audrey.
I'm Audrey Kelly, and I'm also with the Community Studies East section, and I'm working on the San Gabriel Valley Area Plan. It's great to be here tonight. Thanks.
Okay, now on to the IBI team. Looks like we're joined here by Bill, Eric, and Christina. Why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Yep. Thank you, James. Bill Delo with IBI Group. I am the project manager for IBI, and we're the, as James mentioned, the consultant selected by the county to prepare the mobility action plan. With that, I'll turn it over to Christina.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina Martinez. I'm a transportation planner with IBI Group, working on this plan with Bill and Eric.
And good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Tennell, also with IBI Group, supporting Bill and Christina on the project.
Great, thanks IBI team. All right. just going over some meeting information here. As mentioned before, language support is available in Spanish and Chinese. To listen to this presentation in another language, you can click on that globe icon at the bottom of your screen. Please note that everyone joining the meeting is muted by default, and you may use the raise hand feature to speak. You can also use the Q&A tool, the chat box, or the raise hand feature to submit any questions you have. After clicking the Q&A icon, you can type your message in a new box in the bottom right. All of the features you'll need to participate are available in the Zoom bar of this webinar. Also, this meeting will be recorded and will be posted on our website for future viewings. The recordings of our previous meetings are already on our website, and you can take a look at those in case you want more information about the East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan.
Recording in progress.
We're here today to give you an overview of the Mobility Action Plan, but it's important first to provide some additional context. So first I'll go over the area plan and its relation to the Mobility Action Plan. The East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan is a long-term, long-range 20-year plan for the 24 unincorporated communities in the East San Gabriel Valley, and it's being developed to manage and guide the growth and change that will inevitably happen over time. As a policy document, the area plan articulates the vision and goals for how the change should be directed, which is why your feedback has been and continues to be valuable as we draft the plan. As you may know, the county is facing some real challenges to short and long-term livability. Housing is becoming increasingly unaffordable. We're facing environmental concerns with climate change, increased wildfires, droughts, heat waves. The East San Gabriel Valley is especially vulnerable to these issues. So one of the questions we are grappling with is how we can provide a high quality of life for all, and that includes present and future generations. The East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan is one of 11, or the East San Gabriel Valley Planning Area is one of 11 planning areas. As you see in the map to your left, the East San Gabriel Valley Planning Area is located on the easternmost part of Los Angeles County, that's shown in pink, next to San Bernardino County and Orange County. The map on the right shows a close-up of the project area. The areas you see in yellow and orange are the unincorporated communities that we're planning for. Unincorporated means areas that are not in the cities, but in the county. There are 24 unincorporated communities in total in the East San Gabriel Valley. Just some quick facts about the project area. 250,000 people live in 52 square miles of the unincorporated East San Gabriel Valley. In terms of land use, 66% of that 52 square miles is residential. Some of the concerns we consider for the whole area include where can some areas for housing opportunity be located and how can they best fit into the existing communities? Are there a variety of housing options to help seniors and young families stay in the community? Are there areas prone to hazards? How do we best conserve natural resources? And access, which is related to today's presentation. How are people getting around? Driving, walking, biking? Can you take public transit to go anywhere? Are there places to work and shop in the community, or do you have to travel really far? We know that improving transportation, housing, and jobs are important for long-term livability and are certainly the number one issues we hear from the community on a regular basis. The East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan is an extension of the Los Angeles County General Plan. The General Plan establishes county-wide goals and vision, provides guidance on the county's future growth and development, which includes providing diverse housing options for residents, conserving natural areas and resources, balancing jobs and housing by co-locating jobs near housing and vice versa, creating safer streets for walking and biking as well, creating a more sustainable county to ensure a high quality of life for us and future generations. The area plan considers these at a more local level than a county-wide general plan. The area plan is made up of a total of 9 elements. Each include a vision, goals, policies, and actions. We've created summaries of each of the plan elements, and they're available in English, Spanish, and Chinese on our project website. You can also read the full draft elements on the website. The elements are land use, and the element addresses housing, commercial, industrial uses, and zoning. Community character and design, which looks at communities' unique characteristics and how to enhance design. Economic development, which looks at jobs, commercial centers, and job opportunities. Mobility, which looks at how residents get around, driving, walking, transit, or biking. And that's certainly the purpose of this meeting is that the Mobility Action Plan will serve as the mobility element of the East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan. Natural resources, conservation and open space, which looks at the natural areas, preservation and conservation of hillsides and biological resources. Environmental justice, which looks at communities which may be more burdened by pollution and other negative impacts. health and safety, which look at well-being in communities, directing development away from hazards, and how to adapt to climate change. Public services and facilities looks at county services, libraries, and other public amenities. Parks and Recreation, which has been prepared with help from the Department of Parks and Recreation, surveys current facilities and outlines future needs and improvements. The area plan has area-wide recommendations in the elements as just discussed. It also includes community-level recommendations that build on the area-wide goals and policies. Communities with similar needs and opportunities and in similar geographic areas have been grouped together. Communities like Hacienda Heights and Rowland Heights, which have their own community plans, are maintained in individual community chapters. These community chapters are also available on the project website for your review and feedback. Some of the communities in the East San Valley planning area include Avocado Heights, Central Valley communities, and those include North Pomona, South San Jose Hills, Belinda, West Point Valley, Hacienda Heights, and Rowland Heights, with their own unique community plans. We have North Valley communities, which include Charter Oak, East Irwindale, East San Dimas, and the Cubian Islands, South Diamond Bar, South Walnut, just to name a few. There's a lot on the list. It's a total of 24, and they all have their own unique characteristics. We're also developing area-wide standards to address concerns that have been raised at various engagement events over the past several years. Standards that would require new developments to include outdoor communal spaces, such as a courtyard. Also standards to limit height. As part of the plan, we're identifying significant ridge lines that should be protected as well. We're updating the Rowland Heights CSD for requirements related to commercial area design improvements, such as the inclusion of public spaces and protection of significant ridge lines. The update also includes design improvements along Colima Road and at major intersections for pedestrian-oriented central business district. Also, the Avocado Heights Equestrian District is being updated to be combined with the Trailside Equestrian District. This will make sure that the same requirements apply to both districts. It'll also clarify some of those existing standards. Our efforts to date. To develop the area plan, we've conducted community-level research and data, developed existing conditions analysis, background reports, and community profiles. This research, analysis, and reports, as well as community feedback, have informed the goals, policies, and recommendations in the plan elements and community chapters. All of these documents are available on the project website for your further review and feedback. I want to briefly touch on our community engagement efforts. Over the past few years, we've been attending community events, presenting at community group gatherings, hosting events, and maintaining our presence online through our project website and social media. We've also worked with local schools and students to gain insight into how youths experience their communities and what are their concerns, needs, and desires. And our website has a blog feature too, which posts community engagement efforts as well as the area plan's progress. So I highly recommend checking out our project website blog to learn more about all the really great community engagement activities we've been participating in over the last several years. You can also find our contact information and a list of past events, including meeting summaries of the in-person visiting workshop that we held at the end of 2019. We've also made an effort to provide much of the information and summaries of the information in Spanish and Chinese. Project. We worked with storytelling artists, Phonographia, to collect stories of residents about growing up and living in the East San Gabriel Valley. You can go to our website to read their stories, or you can listen to their stories directly from the participants. That'll be on a People's Map tab of the top bar of our project website. From our interactions with residents and other agencies, we've developed an overall vision to guide the growth and recommendations in the plan. The vision is to create vibrant, thriving, safe, healthy, pleasant communities, and to help this region retain its residential character, but also grow into an active regional hub with diverse options for housing, shopping, entertainment, recreation, and services. Several land use goals have guided our preliminary policy recommendations and land use decisions that guide the development of the plan. And this is important to understand in context with the Mobility Action Plan, just to see how it all fits together. While the area plan is primarily a land use document, there's a lot of different topics and components that go into land use, and certainly mobility and transportation is a product and consequence of our land use. Where appropriate and in context with the surrounding neighborhood, diverse mixed income housing options should be provided. Each community should have walkable neighborhoods with safe, convenient access to transit, jobs, shopping, entertainment, recreation, and services. We should strive to foster thriving commercial and employment centers through the planning area. Communities need diverse options for getting around and maintaining their health and well-being. We strive to create connected communities linked together by a network of complete streets and off-street pathways. And a big priority of the plan is to preserve, enhance, and restore open space and conservation areas. The East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan and Mobility Action Plan must be consistent and help implement other county adopted plans and initiatives, including the Housing Element Update, the LA County Climate Action Plan, Safety Element Update, the Parks Needs Assessment, the County Sustainability Plan, recent active transportation efforts in the East San Gabriel Valley, such as their recent active transportation plan, the Vision Zero initiative, the general plan, among other documents. All these efforts help to guide and inform the direction, priorities, and recommendations included in the draft plan. And at this point, I just wanted to quickly plug that our regional planning department has another climate action plan meetings that are scheduled very soon. And we've been told to let all of you attendees know to visit the Climate Action Plans Project website, when I think a link will be posted in the chat really soon about that, and to go check it out. Highly recommend taking a look, especially because a lot of the topics in the Climate Action Plan heavily relate to the East San Gabriel Valley. This project timeline just goes for the East San Gabriel Valley Area Plan. We're presenting the draft plan through our project website for review and feedback, and the comments that you provide to us will inform the final plan. Our next steps include preparing the CEQA environmental review documents. We do plan on holding a public review hearing on the revised draft plan and the environmental documents at the Regional Planning Commission in early 2023, and then from there on to the Board of Supervisors in early 2023 as well. So I highly recommend you stay tuned and stay updated via our project website on any recent developments on the area plan. And so with that, I know that was kind of a lot of overview information, but I think it's important to just kind of put it all in context. And I think at this point, we can turn it over to Bill and team to go over the Mobility Action Plan.
Great, thank you, James. I will bring up my presentation for this evening. So I'll be walking through and providing an overview of the Mobility Action Plan this evening. I wanted to say thank you to everyone for taking time out of your schedules to attend the workshop this evening and learn about what we've been looking at in terms of mobility and transportation in the 24 different unincorporated communities within the East San Gabriel Valley. We're really excited to share our work with you this evening and get your comments as well. So I'll start off with a brief introduction into the plan and what we're doing as part of the Mobility Action Plan. As James mentioned, the Mobility Action Plan is very much coordinated with the overall area plan document. It ultimately becomes the mobility or transportation element of the larger area plan. So it's required a lot of coordination between our work and the work being done on the other elements of the area plan related to land use and quality of life as well. A real focus and objective of our plan has been understanding what the local mobility needs and challenges are for residents in the unincorporated areas within the East San Gabriel Valley. So, what makes it challenging to be able to access transit or to walk and bike within your neighborhoods? And then our real objective, once kind of learning and understanding what those challenges and needs are, is developing different solutions and projects to address those needs and challenges. And then also helping county staff with the development of a plan for how projects can be implemented and constructed in the future. So the Mobility Action Plan really keeps in the forefront of our work some key county priorities that have been adopted by the county at the Board of Supervisors level, and they've really helped to guide our work through this process. The first one is environmental justice, which involves the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people as we walk through our engagement efforts and what we've been doing to reach out to the community. It'll really highlight how we are trying to involve as many people as possible from the different communities around our study area. The second is sustainability, balancing economic, social, and environmental needs of the residents and communities within the San Gabriel Valley. Third is climate, reducing impacts on the environment by supporting strategies that promote zero and low emissions in terms of both energy and the transportation system. And then fourth is equity, which looks to address historic and current inequalities in the distribution of resources and benefits across communities. So in the case of the Mobility Action Plan, this is very much related to access to different types of transportation modes and being able to not only access those modes, but have them be convenient, have them be safe, and equal to the access that others around the county have to different transportation modes. So I'll talk now a little bit about the community engagement work that we've been doing throughout the development of the Mobility Action Plan. One of the key goals that we had as part of this effort was ensuring that the different communities all across the East San Gabriel Valley are seen and heard, and that we provide opportunities for residents in each community to participate and provide their input so that they can have a positive influence on how mobility will change and continue to evolve in their communities moving forward. We also, to achieve this goal, we offered several different opportunities for engagement throughout our process. Certainly, over the last year and a half, public engagement has been challenging with the COVID-19 pandemic and different restrictions on gatherings and indoor events and so forth. So we've had to be really creative in terms of how we get the word out to the community. We've made a lot of good use of social media campaigns and boosting of our social media posts around the county and unincorporated communities to raise awareness about our study. We've had different art installations at parks located throughout the unincorporated communities, really trying to raise awareness of people where they're at and where they are as they're out in a day-to-day basis. We've also conducted, when it's been safe and when it's been available, pop-up events at different outdoor venues, such as community events, fairs, farmers markets, again, trying to meet people where they are and doing so in a safe and effective manner. And then workshops, such as this workshop this evening, an opportunity for people to learn about the plan and provide input and feedback. So the next couple slides highlight some of the different engagement activities that we had underway. On the left-hand side of the slide is an illustration and overview of one activity we did called Map Lives, which is kind of a play on the Mad Libs games that you might have played when we were all younger. Really an opportunity for people to provide input on how they move and get around the county. And then, as we will highlight on the next slide, we took that input and created it into art installations in different county parks around the different unincorporated communities. We've also had paper distribution of postcards and other information with the project website, and opportunities to participate, provide comments, and participate in surveys online. And then in the lower right-hand corner, we have our online virtual open house, what we call our digital foyer, which has throughout the project different information about the project, access to different surveys that we have posted, as well as overview videos that we produce that provided an overview of the project, the development of the plan, and its priorities. This next slide highlights a few other examples. In the upper left here one of our tables from our pop-up events at a farmer's market. On the right-hand side, one of the art installations for the MapLibs program, and highlighting the input that we received from different residents throughout the county, and then providing an opportunity and information for how people could get involved and learn more about the project. And then in the center, the postcard that's been distributed not only in a hard copy form, but also online and through social media, advertising not only this workshop, but the other workshops that are occurring for the area plan over the next couple of weeks. So we'll talk a little bit about now the profile of the community, some of the key data and information that we've collected in the development of the mobility plan. So some of the key attributes, James highlighted several of these, but we're looking at a study area that's 210 square miles, so it's quite large. There's 24 different unincorporated communities, over 1 million residents in total if you factor both the unincorporated areas and the incorporated cities. We have 6 different freeways that kind of crisscross across the different parts of the study area, and 3 different regional rail lines, including Metrolink and the Metro Gold Line. As we looked at this study, we started, really trying to understand and looking at the different populations that exist within the East San Gabriel Valley, and those folks that we wanted to target not only from an engagement standpoint, but to also understand the challenges that they have in terms of being able to get around and move within the East San Gabriel Valley. So these different target populations included seniors, residents over 65 years of age, youth, so residents that are 18 years of age and under, non-white residents, low-income households, households that have either a low number of vehicles compared to the number of people that are living in the unit, or no vehicles at all, and then disadvantaged communities, which in many cases incorporate or encompass many of the groups in the 5 bullets above that. Each of these groups and different populations has different mobility challenges and different needs when it comes to mobility. So it's really important to understand where these different populations are concentrated within our study area, and then also what their needs and challenges are related to mobility. And so that led to the development and identification of different gaps related to mobility throughout our study area. So the identification of these gaps were informed by various different inputs. We profiled and reviewed existing transit services that are operated throughout the study area. This includes services operated by Metro, as well as by Foothill Transit, and then by some of the local cities as well. We looked at demographics, population, economic characteristics of the different communities. As we mentioned, these can really influence the demand for different types of mobility services, transit, and different modes of transportation. And then understanding through the public engagement effort. We've asked a lot of questions and tried to listen well in terms of, what does the community want? What does the community need in terms of transportation and mobility? And really our objective is to create an integrated plan that addresses many different components. Those needs and gaps related to mobility, what we've heard through the community and residents that have participated in our outreach effort. We've identified targeted mobility strategies, different strategies and projects that are targeted to different communities or different populations within the study area. Looked at different technologies, recognizing that mobility and transportation technology is really moving fast, and what opportunities and challenges does that create for us. And then also identifying different partnerships and funding sources to give the county the tools to be able to implement the recommendations that come out of this plan. So in the development of the plan, we also looked at several different guiding principles. These are really kind of the objectives of the plan. And as we identified different improvements to transit services, as well as facilities for walking and biking, we looked at several different principles. This includes the reduction of emissions, opportunities to address that goal, related to climate, and related also to air quality. Looking for ways to increase transit ridership and expanding the reach of transit. Contributing to economic development throughout the region, throughout the East San Gabriel Valley. Providing equitable access to different modes of transportation, so really honing in on that objective related to equity. And then actively engaging in regional smart mobility initiatives. There's a lot of work at the regional level, especially with Metro and some of the other agencies to be smarter and provide more access to mobility, so we wanted to make sure to be consistent with that. First and foremost, for bike and ped, walking and biking, improving safety. It's really important that people feel safe walking and biking. And then supporting transit, not only by enhancing transit services, but by improving access to transit and making sure people are able to get to their stops and stations. So as we looked at the existing transit services, there were several different unincorporated communities that we identified that have gaps in terms of the transit services that exist today, where it can be really difficult for residents in these communities to conveniently and safely access transit. And you can see these different communities over here on the left. They include the Glendora Islands, Northeast San Dimas, North and West Claremont, the Walnut Islands, South Diamond Bar, and both Hacienda Heights and Nolan Heights. So it's really a challenge that's kind of widespread throughout the East San Gabriel Valley, and there's no one particular area that maybe has less transit service than others. We also looked for walking and biking, really honing in and focusing in on safety and looking at collision data, so collisions that involve walking and biking. For walking, this map here in the blue, the darker blue areas highlight higher or areas of a higher number of collisions. So we can see around different communities, Roland Heights, Hacienda Heights, West Puente Valley, the areas around the city of Pomona and North Pomona as well. Some very high concentrations of collisions over the last 5 years or so. And this creates challenges for people being able to walk and choose to walk to reach their destinations. Looked at this also for bicycling as well. And on this map, again, the darker areas are higher concentrations of collisions over the last 5 years. You see a lot of similar locations and similar communities that have these challenges. And we really tried to hone in and focus in on these. Those recommendations that we have identified that are included within the draft plan. One of the key recommendations on the transit side is the implementation of what we call flexible micro-transit. And what this recommendation focuses in on is what you see here in the photograph, using smaller vehicles, typically vans or small buses that might hold anywhere from 5, 10, 15 riders. And they, instead of serving a fixed route along a particular street, they'll serve a zone or an area with multiple streets and multiple different destinations within there. And you can organize and be able to access rides either using a smartphone app or by calling into a call center. And this is really important because it allows us to serve residents who, those residents who do have a smartphone, but also recognizing that there's a lot of residents who don't have access to the internet or may not have a smartphone. They have an alternative way to be able to access a ride. In the photograph here, it's actually an example of a service in a van that Metro is already operating in a different part of the county. So it'd be a look at expanding this service. And really what it does is it allows flexibility for people to be able to be picked up closer to or at their home and be dropped directly at their destination. And so it really helps to address that access to transit in areas where maybe it doesn't make sense to have a fixed route 40-foot bus operating on a really frequent headway, but it allows people to access transit very conveniently and get to where they need to go. Sort of a similar but a little bit different opportunity is what's called personal mobility on demand. And this is a partnership with a what we call a ride-hailing provider. So this includes like Uber or Lyft. And it's an opportunity for people to be able to use those services for a reduced cost and perhaps share those trips with other riders. It helps to provide service anywhere within a particular zone, and it's really effective for serving those times of the day when regular transit services may not be as frequent, such as really early in the morning or late in the evening or overnight. So really helping folks who might be working in service industries or the medical industry who may not have access to good transit services during those times. And then on the walking and biking side, we've identified a range of different corridors throughout the unincorporated communities where we're proposing different improvements and enhancements to walking and bicycling infrastructure, with really a focus on safety, access, allowing people to access those facilities and key destinations such as schools and shopping, and then connecting to different locations as well. And the plan includes profiles of several different streets and different improvements that are proposed in creating enhanced facilities for walking and biking, with really a focus on creating complete streets that appeal to and accommodate all different users, such as automobiles, transit, walkers, and bikers. We've also identified different what are called green streets improvements. So that's really focused on landscaping, treating stormwater runoff from the streets, and making the street more green as well from an environmental standpoint. So our next steps through certainly this meeting and some other engagement that we're doing over the next several weeks, we'll be receiving comments from the community on the draft plan. We'll then be revising and submitting the final plan to county staff. It'll then be integrated into the larger area plan for the East San Gabriel Valley, and will include a funding and implementation strategy for the different projects and recommendations that we've identified. And with that, that concludes my presentation for the evening.
Thanks, Bill. I think at this point, if we can just go to questions. It looks like we have some questions in the chat already, but you know, you can always raise your hand. Teri, I don't know if you wanted to raise your thoughts on the plan.
I said two comments earlier, which I wasn't going to bring up, but I just have another one. When you say by zones, is that inter or intra community? So like I live in Roland Heights, when you talk about zones like the micro or personal mobility on demand, is that only within Roland, or does that get me from one end of Roland Heights to West Covina?
That's a great question, Teri, and it really could be both. I think that's one of the great attributes of these strategies is that they're really flexible. And so typically what's identified is you'll identify a zone, and what it could be in some locations is potentially multiple zones where you have, you can ride for a certain fare within a particular area or circle, and then for a smaller some amount increment more than that, you can expand that circle and have that component to it. So they're really flexible, and we saw these being beneficial from that standpoint because we have a lot of different communities where you may not have a grocery store or a school in a particular community, and you want to have access to an adjacent community where that destination is. So it's really designed to be flexible and could be, like I said, either within a single community or it could provide connections between two or more different communities as well.
Yeah, this also ties into a comment that I had emailed previously. We live in a hilly area, and I know a lot of communities are also hilly, so these two options would be very beneficial because there's no way that seniors like me can walk our hills to get to the transit. So I think that would be very good. But a lot of the communities border neighboring counties, both San Bernardino and Orange County. But like we have a hospital that most people in our community use, but it's technically in Orange County. Have you explored any ways to develop some connections with like the medical, like St. Jude Hospital? And I'm sure there's other hospitals on, you know, more in the Pomona area that go east, well, out of Pomona, you know, farther east. I don't know, there might be a Kaiser further out in the next county that some of the people on the more extremes might be using. So have you looked at all on transportation on some of these bordering communities for medical facilities?
Yeah, that's a good point as well, and yeah, something that's really important. I think with the strategy, certainly the personal mobility on demand strategy has some flexibility to provide that trip with it, using the kind of the ride share services like Uber and Lyft. You have the opportunity to make a longer trip and also be able to go across, kind of the county line to make those connections. Another strategy that I know different transit agencies have looked at, and I think what we should highlight within the plan is you can make connections to either the kind of the parallel service in the next county. So having the flexibility in the zone of some of these services to then connect to an OCTA transit line that makes that connection to St. Jude would probably be something that I think would be beneficial as well.
Thanks, Bill and Teri. Any other questions? Just feel free to raise your hand or put them in the chat. Oh, looks like Roy has a question. Would unmute you, Roy?
Okay, hopefully you can hear me. It just one comment. It's an overall situation, kind of historical. That it appears as though your plan is actually a retro-cultural transition to the early history of development in the United States regarding building of housing and social support elements around factories and those types of work environments. And those things usually take decades to accomplish, especially when you're going retro. Another, do you plan on, and I can understand the difficulty in it, and as mentioned last time, to be inclusive of the, and address the transient homeless issue, such as establishment of these safe campsites. It appears to be a critical flaw. It's out there with the sheriff, and on Tuesday the Blue Ribbon Commission is coming out with their situation, and this has seismic implications as far as the overall development of these communities, which and the failure to address it just I just hate to see it go that way. And the other aspect is where is the, I guess it's too early to address funding. And as we have noted, and if you've seen the budget issues with Los Angeles County, that so many agencies and assets are so underfunded. But I guess that's another topic for another day. So, hey, thank you very much.
Thanks, Roy. Bill, do you want to address the funding kind of questions, or maybe provide some examples of how some of these concepts could be eventually implemented through a variety of funding sources?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, James. So one of the components that'll be in the final plan is a discussion of exactly how these projects and programs can be funded. And what our focus is there's a lot of different available funding sources at the state and federal level for various different types of mobility improvements, and especially mobility improvements that focus on transit and what we call active transportation, walking and biking. And so, given the types of projects that we've identified throughout the plan, the different metrics and different criteria that both the state and the federal government look at, we think the county would be really competitive pursuing these different grant funding programs and taking advantage of them in the future. So throughout, as we've been crafting the different project ideas and recommendations, we've definitely kept a kind of a thought process of how these projects would be available for those funding sources and allow the county to take advantage of those sources that are non-local. And so in that case, it doesn't really impact funding available for other programs and portions within the county. It takes advantage of programs that have been established at the state and federal levels.
Great, thanks for that. So yeah, it looks like just Teri has a comment in the chat that was asking, like, would personal mobility, could something like a microtransit or a personal mobility on demand be used to take students to school? And I think that's an interesting point too, because I know speaking to students at Rowan High School with the White Plan project, the number one issue that they raised, in addition to their thoughts on Kalima Road, was just safety in getting to school, and how there weren't a lot of options, especially if they lived in the hillside area, other than having their parents drive them. But if their parents are working or busy or have other needs, it can be difficult to sort of bridge that gap. I don't know, Bill, if your team's ever has encountered that. I assume that it seems like it would just be a matter of will, funding, and coordination, but I don't think there would be an issue with that.
Yeah, exactly. It certainly could be a use for it. I think an example that I can think of is, I know a few years ago, the city of San Clemente down in Orange County did a partnership with Lyft because there was some pullback of transit services from OCTA there, and they implemented a partnership with Lyft, and that was one of the potential trips that was made was students, after school, they need a ride home, they would be able to participate in the program. So it's certainly flexible in that way, where you could have that for students as well.
Thanks for that. Any other questions from the audience? Put in the chat again too. If anything comes to mind after reviewing the plan, you can always email us, and we'll make sure that everything gets to the team. Roy, you got your hand up again. I'm going to unmute you, and I think you should be good to go.
Okay, to me, and I'm surprised someone else hasn't mentioned it already, and it's as simple as it is difficult, and that is that if the County of Los Angeles and the city so forth would make it so that no persons may individually drive, with exceptions, always exceptions, to deliver their children to and from school, prohibit that, and make it that all students will go to and from school via a standard school bus routine. You've solved a huge impact on the carbon footprint and just efficiency, and cost effectiveness unimaginable heretofore. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Roy. Appreciate that comment. All right, is there any other questions from the group? All right. Before we conclude, we do have a new process, end meeting process for regional planning meetings, and that I'm sure some of you have already experienced this with our other meetings, is that we have a poll, an exit meeting survey, just to make sure that we are able to make sure that the information that we're providing is useful, and it's not too overwhelming or too underwhelming. It's just right. So please be honest. Your feelings won't be hurt. I'm launching the poll now. You can just take a couple seconds and go to and answer the survey. In the meantime, me and Andrene, are there any other things to bring up?
No, I just want to thank everybody again for your time tonight, and also a reminder for folks who can make it that we will be having an in-person event at the Steinmetz Park in Hacienda Heights this weekend. So that's this Saturday at 10 o'clock if you can make it. We will have printouts of the elements, the community chapters, as well as a copy of the mobility action plan, draft action plan for you if you can make it out to see us, and some goodies too, giveaways. Yes, Roy.
Right. You answered my question, and thank you very much, because a meeting without munchies, you got to have munchies, and thank you very much.
Not necessarily munchies, but these giveaways, like the stress balls, the stainless steel, like the straws and things like that. But if you'd like, I can pick up some. Yeah, we can get some munchies. We'll see if we can provide that too. And Teri has her hand up.
Yeah, I noticed the last meeting is a scoping meeting. I don't know exactly what that means.
So the scoping meeting is for the environmental document. So as part of this plan, we'll be preparing what's called a environmental impact report. And what we do to prepare that document is to get your feedback on what you think the environmental issues are. So basically scoping out the environmental issues that should be analyzed in